and Chief Marshal Salman, Aslam, all of you have had the pleasure of knowing them. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon. It's very heartening to see so many diplomats turn up for this event. I have a double jeopardy today. I have to speak on a subject called maritime security and speak for such an august forum and such an audience, and follow someone of the stature of Mr. Abdullah Gul, who is a firebrand. So I'll be more mundane, naval type of speech. And secondly, despite being a bona fide maritime nation, we suffer from sea blindness, and not many of you, or at least some of you, have very little idea about the sea itself. So what I've done today is basically to set the overall geostrategic landscape as it relates to the maritime environment in the Indian Ocean, and then talk about Pakistan's maritime interests, and then a little bit about how Indian maritime strategy is carrying out and its relationship with the political happenings across the oceans. And lastly, a few implications as they relate to Pakistan. Since the main topic of discussion today is Kashmir, so let me begin with my assessment as to what has happened in the most recent times. Next, please. Next. So there are two events of 2019, one being military in nature in Pulwama, you all know what happened, and second, the political resentment of Article 370 and 35A. So it has altered the strategic stability in this region, vis-a-vis Pakistan and India. Three things have happened. One, the abandonment of no first use by India, and the great threats from both sides. So hence the earlier speaker talked about the prospect of a nuclear war. So for the first time, India has dispensed away with no first use policy. So that means they are up to something. The second is that over the past few years, both sides have developed from nuclear deterrence to nuclear warfighting. That is to say, the tactical nuclear weapons which will be used either at sea or over land, which could be potentially used. So therefore, this has altered the strategic balance. And last but not the least is lowering of threshold of using the conventional military. At any excuse, India feels that they can resort to conventional military application, however limited or wherever they would want to use, wherever they would have opportunity. So those are the three things which have made the strategic stability under grave threat over the last year or so. The brutal actions by India, the international community has been very muted in their condemnation, and domestic criticism within India, if there was any, it is very, very marginal, and they're totally marginalized. So that's why we do not see any probability of reversal of status quo of 5th August. So therefore, whatever our strategy has to be to make India pay for this folly. So that is what my contention is. Obviously, Pakistan and India both have strategic interests with respect to Kashmir, and we have the moral and the legal standing to see to it that the Kashmir issue is resolved in accordance with the UN Security Council resolution, which reflect the popular aspiration of people of Kashmir, and that is what they are the major stakeholders, and that is where we should concentrate. With this background of strategic stability with respect to the Kashmir saga, Let me move over to the what is happening across the oceans of the sea. So essentially, the oceans are the main center of power politics, and the future of the world is tied to Asia. As Robert Kaplan says, that inherently competition and conflict, which was earlier in duration, pastland, has shifted to Asia Pacific, where the avenue or the arena for the conflict and competition is actually sea. So whatever happens geopolitically or geostrategically, it will fan out in across the oceans, which means Indian Ocean and Pacific. And everybody agrees that with the rise of peace, the 21st century belongs to Asia, of which we are thankfully past. So at the global level, you can see the power is shifting from west to east. At the regional level, two alignments are coming. CPAC is being harbinger of peace and development, and also being contested. And immediate neighborhood Gulf remains uncertain, with the prospect of conflict between US and Iran, and thankfully the temperatures have lowered. At the regional level, I've already talked about that. In the internal level, as Mr. Abdullah Gul mentioned, we are still struggling with political and economic stability within Pakistan. At the grand strategy level, the US came out with pivot to Asia policy a few years ago, and now they are advocating Quad strategy, which means a strategic alignment between India, US, Japan, and Australia. And that's how they are progressing. Next, please. So Indo-Pacific strategy, US is transiting from transatlantic orientation to trans-Pacific orientation, aimed at countering China's move in South China Sea and be in a position to effect long, circuitous, and multiple sea lines of communication of China through South China Sea and the Pacific. Pakistan has greater prospect by joining hands with China, and we know that the Indian occupied Kashmir, which remains in an unstable and turmoil, can affect CPAC. Similarly, with Indian influence thankfully now filtering out in Chabahar, could also be a problematic area. Now let me move over to the how the oceans and Indian Ocean impact regional security and the overall security within the world. Next, please. So, whosoever commands the sea commands the trade, and whosoever commands the trade commands the riches of the world, and whosoever commands the riches of the world commands the world itself. So that is what has been said by Mr. Walter Raleigh, and so that is the overall understanding you need to have to see that how geostrategic, geoeconomics, and geopolitical play out in the world. Next, please. Coming to the Indian Ocean region, Alfred Dev Mahan, a Rear Admiral of US Navy, has famously said that whosoever attains maritime supremacy in the Indian Ocean would be prominent player on the international scene. This ocean is the key to 7 seas in the 21st century, and the destiny of the world will be decided in these waters. Next, please. So you can see Indian Ocean. We sit on the northern side of it. There are 3 choke points. This is the 3rd largest ocean with more than 2.6 billion people, and 40% of, which represents 40% of population of the world, and more than 80% of world oil transits through the Indian Ocean region. Next, please. This is East Indian Ocean produces 20% of total fish, around 40% of offshore oil production, 50% of seaboard container traffic passes through Indian Ocean region. So you can imagine the importance of Indian Ocean and the importance of littorals of Indian Ocean, of which Pakistan is a part. Next, please. So this is just a snapshot of the various fishing and shipping activity, and the red lines represent the tanker and the trade routes plying between Indian Ocean and rest of the world through the Red Sea to Mediterranean and to the eastern side into the Pacific. Next, please. So that's why it invites the presence of extra-regional forces. Since the British left in 1968 from Indian Ocean, this has been generally occupied by the US, but there are French ships around, there are Russians, there are Chinese, there are even some of the EU countries are also present. So this is just reflective of the various military and other facilities. Next, please. And actually it's not showing. This is the African map. Next, please. Most recent development, right at Gulf of Aden, 4 countries have established bases. US naval base was already there, Chinese naval base has recently been established, Japanese and French naval base. This was French colony, so they are permanently present there. Next, please. So what are the Pakistan's maritime interests? Given this overall scenario and geopolitical alignments of various countries abetting Indian Ocean. Next, please. We have about 1,000 kilometer long coastline. So these are our sea frontiers, and we have exclusive economic zone where we can tap economic potential of nearly 240,000 square kilometers and an extended continental shelf of 50,000. Next, please. It has a great maritime potential. Next. We have friendly relations with all the neighbors except the sea, and that, ladies and gentlemen, can prove to be one of the flashpoints if there is any future armed conflict between Pakistan and India. Next, please. Next. Just keep clicking. We have 2 port complexes which are within the reach of the Indian military, both Air Force and Navy, and can be targeted. The bulk of our exports are in Karachi Port Complex until the Gwadar port is fully operational. Next, please. Next. There are a few other ports, Mara Naval Harbour, Passi Fish Harbour, and then Gwadar Port, hopefully, inshallah, will bring in a strategic change with respect to our vulnerability of having a single port complex. Next, please. We have sea lines of communication, the vital supplies coming from the Gulf. So this is a key national interest which can be threatened by any force operating within the Indian Ocean. Next. Shipping, we have 11 ships at the moment, not a very healthy sign. Next. We carry only about 13 to 14% of our national trade. We have a fairly good sized marine industry, a Karachi shipyard. Next. Shipbreaking, we were once the leading shipbreaker in the world, but now Bangladesh is giving us tough competition in respect to that. Obviously, as I said, the exclusive economic zone has natural resources and minerals and hydrocarbons. By some estimate, nearly 40 billion barrels of oil and 200 trillion cubic feet of gas prevalent. So what are the threats to the Pakistan's national interest. First, the non-traditional threat. Obviously, we have unregulated fishing, and then the threat of terrorism at sea, drug trafficking and smuggling emanating mostly from Afghanistan, passing through our seaboard, and then environmental disasters. So these are some of the non-traditional threats which continue to persist during the peacetime as well, warranting a maritime security operation both by the Navy and Maritime Security Agency. But ladies and gentlemen, the fundamental threat both on the land, in the air and at sea emanates from our erstwhile enemy, the belligerent Indian Navy. Next please. So this is the growing Indian influence, the political influence in the Indian Ocean region, and also its increasing naval strength. Next. India enjoys at the moment a numerical superiority of 6-1 when it comes to Navy. So ratio with cumulative strength of the Coast Guard further deteriorates to 7-1. Next please. With the 2027 projection, I would like, ladies and gentlemen, to note the budget allocation to Indian Navy would be such that by 2027, since they have global ambitions, they would be wanting to have a 200-ship Navy with 3,500 kilometers long nuclear-capable missile. So the Indian Ocean is going to be one of the most militarized oceans of the world in future, in time to come. Unfortunately, Indian Ocean also suffers from that. There is no intra-region security mechanism. Similarly, the intra-region trade within the Indian Ocean is abysmal because of the political differences and the ongoing conflicts and some of the perennial issues which haunt the littorals of the Indian Ocean. So that is where we stand at the moment vis-a-vis seas concerned. Next please. For India, obviously with 7,500 kilometers long coastline, with easy of 2 million square kilometer, they are aspiring to become from a maritime nation to a maritime power. Next please. That's why they have maybe 200 ports with 12 major ports and 4 offshore bases. Next please. Let's continue. So you can note that 80% of their crude oil comes from the Gulf. So that is where their energy security is dependent and tied to sea. Next please. Go back please. Next please. So this is what Jawaharlal Nehru had to say. To be secure on land, we must be supreme at sea. And that is the current thinking of Indian strategists, military strategists. Next please. So now a few words about the Indian maritime strategy as it unfolds. They issued it in 2015 and they have 4 cornerstones. One is Indian Ocean is India's ocean. And from Look-East policy of Manmohan Singh in 1991 to 2014, Modi's policy of not only Look-East but Act East. And security of sea lines of communication because of their dependence on sea trade and energy security. And they perceive themselves as a net security provider, providing for the region. So they want to dominate the complete Indian Ocean region by capitalizing India's unique maritime position, and new maritime strategy propagates India as the custodian of Indian Ocean. The last but not the least, India has nuclearized Indian Ocean in much more than what it used to be a few years ago. With the submarine launched ballistic missile, with on-station deterrence patrol, they have manifested that policy during 2009. Next. Not only look east, but act east. Actually, so they have engagements with the IO or little states to increase the maritime interest. Next. So their primary area of interest remains Indian Ocean, but they have gone as far as the entire Indo-Pacific and as far as the Mediterranean. They are about to become an influencer on the maritime scene within this area of interest. Next, please. Obviously, as I said, they are tied, their growth with their economy is tied to sea trade, and so they have this worry of sea lines, affecting the sea lines of communication, which can be threatened in many ways. Next, please. Next. So India wants to become the net maritime security provider in the area of interest to increase their presence and footprint, and going into a number of alliances with not only US and Japan and Australia, but also Indonesia, Madagascar, and so many African countries as well. Next, please. Next. So their strategy basically hovers around strategy for conflict, deterrence, and maritime force development. Next. So as far as the strategy for conflict, we want to have a hybrid type of war overall. So they have this information warfare as integral parts, block protection, and escalation management, and if possible, dominate the escalation. Next, please. So what are the implications of India's emerging maritime strategy? So they have resorted to use of overseas diaspora, which totals around 28.5 billion. Making use of them both politically and economically. Next, please. So the implications as are concerned. Next,
excuse me.
US has identified India as the key partner in Indian Ocean region for rebalancing Asia. So US strategic choice in line with the Indian grandiose aspiration to become not only regional power but a global power, and perhaps go on to the UN Security Council to seek on the Security Council. Emerging Indian maritime strategy has dispelled the impression of continental mindset of India. So the maritime strategy has taken the front seat and given impetus to Indo-US, which will allow the US to concentrate on. Next, please. So as far as China is concerned, India's ability or aim to become the net security provider and perhaps replace the extra-regional forces runs contrary to the interests of Chinese interest vis-a-vis Indian Ocean. Next, please. So China's PLA Navy is still developing, and there will be a 3-carrier force in not too distant a future, but currently their aircraft carrier is still undergoing trials and maturing with Pacific time. Next, please. Next. The next implication is obviously with India's influence in the ASEAN countries, and look at their footprint in the Pacific with all these countries. So India has emerged as a part of the Look East policy as one of the players within the Pacific and South China Sea. Next. The operationalization of Gawanda Port may have a certain impact on the business within the Gulf, but the development of Chabahar with Indian money, thankfully, which has reduced to a trickle down during this year of only $5 million, could be used by the hostile elements towards Pakistan if this continues to grow. But India's relationship with the Gulf countries and their economic interest, mutual economic interest of both the countries, a development which Pakistan will have to cater for in their strategic choices with respect to both diplomacy and also the maritime strategy. Next, please. India's perceived role suits Indian hegemonic society, will disturb the strategic balance. The third point to note is it will encourage India to carry out this adventure under the guise of security. So any false flag operation is highly probable because of the international nature of the sea. India has the ability to undertake a false flag operation which may be used as alibi or as a pretext for initiating, as I said, conventional military instrument against Pakistan. Next, please. We know that Pakistan's economy relies heavily on sea trade and particularly the fuel supplies. Any disturbance to our sea land communication with vast Indian presence across the entire Indian Ocean could cause serious damage to our economy. Actually, obviously, with India's influence in the Indian Ocean littoral, will have to be watchful and will need to engage diplomatically and politically with all the littoral states. And last but not the least, it might lead to an arms race, not only in the nuclear domain, but also in the conventional ratio. As I said, it is already 6-1. We cannot allow this to, our southern flank to be exposed to overbearing Indian naval instrument. We need to have a semblance of balance so that Pakistan Navy is able to protect our maritime interests, which I just highlighted. Last two slides now. Next, please. As I said, here needs to bridge gap with minimum essential force development plan, including, most importantly, to complete the triad of Pakistan's nuclear deterrence. It is very critical and essential and urgent to have a sea-based nuclear deterrence in the shape of a nuclear submarine. And finally, we should be able to not only engage but also disrupt Indians' heavy dependence on fuel supplies and other sea trade as a quid pro quo. Next. With respect to the extra-regional forces, obviously, if we are not politically aligned, they can turn against us. Therefore, we need to engage with the extra-regional players, particularly the US within this region. Next. So we need positive engagement. Challenges to maintain current relations. And finally, the challenge, next please. Next. Finally, we need to have a coherent and a well thought out maritime strategy and policy to see to it that not only the Navy develops, but also the entire maritime sector develops. So ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, India's belligerence, particularly during 2019, with respect to Kashmir, can pan out to any altercation at sea. My effort was to educate you a little bit about the Pakistan's maritime interest and what is happening at the grand geostrategic and geopolitical level and how should we go about. With respect to the question vis-a-vis Saudi Arabia, I'll be happy to answer, but if you forbid, yes, can I? With respect to the recent political or diplomatic overtures by Saudi Arabia. First of all, let me just say that foreign policy is not in public domain. So whatever happens behind the closed door, I'm not privy at the moment. I'm sure Siddique would be. But let me just say that Pakistan and Saudi Arabia are strategic friends. They have helped us. We continue to be great friends. They have helped us in all times of our need. How do they want to help, and what is quid pro arrangement between the various governments? We leave it to the policymakers to decide. Third, I want to say that you do not test your friends. You don't want a relationship to be spoiled on lack of education by castigating in the public without knowing what is behind the scenes and how the friends can agree to disagree on certain points. Our policy with respect to Syria is not the same as what Saudi Arabia wants us to do. Do they go around castigating Pakistan on that? They don't. We don't quite match their expectations with respect to Iran. But that's how real life is. Saudi Arabia has economic interest and they are hedging for the future of oil. So India, South Korea and China are their customers. Hence the investment by Saudi Arabia of $44 billion in a petrochemical complex with 50% partnership of Indian Bharat Petroleum makes sense because they want to hedge the future of oil. By some accounts, by 2040, fossil fuels will be a thing of past. So let's not test our friends. They have sided with us, and I'm sure when push comes to shove, Saudi Arabia will be there for Pakistan and vice versa.